Hi, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for tuning in. I love this picture. This little baby is just like me whenever it comes to cake. I tell you what, I love it. And I can just shove my face in it and just num, 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 num. Love it. And I also hate it because sugar is absolutely horrible for you. And I wish I could do what this baby's doing right now all the time. It would be wonderful. Baby's fantastic. It's funny. So I have two videos that I produced today. One for focused practical improvement, and the other one freedom of expression. If you're on YouTube, if it's somewhere else, it's all in one. And with the improvement, I've gone over sleeping and your teeth and gums and oral hygiene. And now we're diving into dieting. I've been talking about fasting. And one of these things that I need to do to clean up my diet is to deal with sugar. I've made a couple videos before already about sugar and just how just horrible sugar is. It's just god-awful horrible. You just, and then everything about it. Because one of the things that they do is that they just change the molecular structure of sugar just a little bit. And then technically, they can give it a different name. And so whenever you see products that say sugar-free, they're not. They have something else in it that it's sugar. They just changed one thing that it didn't do anything to it. So it tastes like sugar, it acts like sugar because it is sugar. They do this with drugs too. It's that back whenever they started the drug war with Nancy Reagan, her crap, there was only a handful of drugs. And chemists and druggies learned how to be chemists, and they just changed it a little bit. So it was technically something else, and they were able to distribute it without government regulation, but then the government, and that's why there's like hundreds of drugs that are illegal today. And as you can see above me, I have that word pad. It was fasting, but I've changed it just to dieting. Talked about circadian rhythms and what needs to happen with that to help with your cravings and why you need to do time restricted eating and fasting. They're two different things. It's not too much of a difference, but it is a difference. It is notable. It does need to happen. And then on Friday, what does this mean? How do you put this into work? Because I tell you what, just me right here, just me. How do I stop this? And I've lost 50 pounds, so I know how to do this. So what's the problem with this? How did this happen? So whenever you look at the sugar industry paid off, I believe several scientists. Yeah, so right here, one of the scientists who was paid by the sugar industry was D. Mark Hegstead, who went on to become the head of nutrition at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, where in 1977 he helped drafted the forerunner to the federal government's dietary guidelines. So it was several scientists. They just got paid off. They said, we want you to lie about it. I don't know much of the details behind it. I don't know if they figured out that sugar was addictive or if it was just easy to produce or whatever. I don't know exactly why they did it, but they did. And this is something that I've learned about like in the last 10 years or so. I've seen more and more of it kind of come out, and it's just garbage. It's absolutely horrid. If we discovered sugar today and we found all of this out, it would probably be illegal. Maybe. Well, it would not get all of this mainstream attention that we do, and it wouldn't be in every single damn thing that we put in our mouths, especially if it's processed. I mean, finding something that's been processed that doesn't have sugar, if it's in a package, it's like, good luck. You just, chances are, no, you didn't find something without sugar. They've just screwed with it in some way. All right, so what are we talking about? if you been watching, you know I'm a big fan of Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and it's because she's just on top of all this stuff. She doesn't talk like one of those bro guys. It's like, well, why aren't you losing weight? And it's like, oh, all the celebrities know. Screw you, man. Anyways, let's listen.
One of the things that I found when I was eating a lot of bread and pasta is that I would have a good meal. Like, say I would have like chicken with maybe some vegetables or something like that.
And
a
he
nice big
talks about
meal
how he's still hungry.
Craving. And that's so it
does happen when you eat refined sugars, like something, not a piece of fruit, which has the fiber matrix and all these polyphenols. By the way,
and so she talks about how fruit's kind of good, but it's not. And there's another video. There's about 3-4 of them that we're going to go over, and an article about this. Fruit has been genetically altered. I mean, you can look at corn. If you look at what corn is naturally in the wild, it's just a few kernels. But now we have these big, huge ears of corn filled with all of these kernels because we've just screwed with it left, right, and center. And we've done the same thing with fruit. And we'll, I think I've got one of the videos of one of the doctors who's talking about this. I don't know. I've looked through a lot. I don't remember exactly which ones I kept.
Polyphenols are plant insecticides. It's all we were talking about. It's all the good stuff. When you take the refined sugar away from that, what happens is when your gut digests it, and refined sugar usually is like a glucose. It's 50% glucose and 50% fructose, and that's sucrose, and that's what's in table sugar. It's what's in a lot of refined.
50% glucose and 50% sucrose. And one of the other doctors was talking about how sugar's only got half of it. So it doesn't spike your insulin, but it does all go to your liver, and you have a problem with it. Because for a little bit going through all this, it's like, well, maybe to kind of step it on down, and I still may do this, is that whenever I'm eating something sweet or sugary during my day, maybe to help wean it off, is to replace it with fruit, and start maybe with fruit that's higher in sugar content, and kind of work my way down, because they talked about berries having a lot less of it, you know, and something being really bad would be like an orange or a grape. Just a lot of sugar in it, you know, but I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for progress.
Sugars. What happens is that when you cleave the sucrose you cleave the sucrose to this glucose and the fructose itself doesn't get absorbed by all the cells. It only gets metabolized in the liver, and it does something that's called ATP trapping. So what it does...
Pardon me. And she gets into the technical stuff.
You have energy, and so you don't get satiated. And so
it blocks it, and your body doesn't think that you're eating, and so you're continuously hungry, and that's something that they all said, that whenever you eat sugar, you continue to have cravings. She actually gets specific into it. I'll have links in the description below, so if you want to watch it all and listen to the technical jargon with all of this, you can. But, you know, that's why you're watching me, is because you don't want to. So just kind of do all the work for me and tell me what you found out.
Because your brain thinks you haven't been fed because the ATP's been trapped. It's called ATP trapping.
Wow.
That's one possibility that could have been happening. It's also why a lot of people that eat a lot of refined sugars with sucrose or high fructose corn syrup is the worst. When they eat that.
Why is high fructose corn syrup the worst?
Because let's compare table sugar, sucrose, to high fructose corn syrup. That's the sugar, so it's not like a big bolus that your gut sees. The same thing can happen if you take like too much of.
It's more processed.
Differently. It's completely different than taking table sugar or corn syrup.
That's insane. Okay, here it is. In 1970, it was first introduced to food and beverage industry.
That's how long, and it's still here, and it's amazing that it's in literally everything, and that's something they all say. Every last one of them. Sugar is in everything, but you have to be aware that the wording is different because they've changed it up a little bit, so now it technically has a different name.
The 50 grams a day or the 50 grams a year? Yeah, no, 50 grams a day. It's 50 grams a day, which was their weight. It was okay. Now I'm remembering. It was
So she's talking about how in the UK they found out that, you know, like little kids, that they eat so much sugar a day that by the end of the year, they've eaten their weight in sugar.
That would be awesome. It was 50 grams a day, which was the average of their entire body weight of a 5-year-old.
A year.
A year.
That's so stupid. That's so stupid.
And it thrives on sugar, though, isn't there?
Yeast or proteins, lipids, have to have irritable bowel syndrome, thrive on low fiber.
And she talks about if you don't have a good enough balanced diet, if you're getting too much processed food, and especially sugar and white flour, which is incredibly processed, causes all of these imbalances because you have hundreds of microorganisms that are living inside your gut, and they call it a gut biome. And so if you're not eating a variety of foods, especially this processed food, if you're eating too much of that, it irritates your digestive system and your bowels, and it's just like, no, you want whole foods where no big companies have gotten a hold of it and screwed up. And you don't want anything that big companies have gotten a hold of it and they've screwed with it to make it more addictive and tasting, so you'll buy more.
And the sugars and the lipids are all getting absorbed. They'll swim up there. And this is often referred to as bacterial overgrowth. So small intestine bacterial overgrowth is what the technical term is. Bacterial overgrowth is actually what's released when your body sees gluten. Zonulin, it literally, like, you have the gut barrier, and there's like these junctions with the barrier, but so that would cause like bloating and inflammation,
And she talks about, or maybe it was one of the others, about how whenever you expel sugar, you also expel water, and that sugar and carbs, especially the more refined carbs, that it'll hold water, and so whenever you get rid of the sugar, you'll lose water, and that you can lose water really fast, and that we all have quite a bit of water to us because we eat so much sugar and carbs. And I'm inclined to believe that. None of them really went into explaining it, but whenever I go and I do my run, whenever I get beyond 5 miles, whenever I'm going like 5 to 10 miles, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles on one run, I will weigh myself before I go on. Not all the time. I mean, I used to do this quite a bit, and I still do it sometimes. Well, actually, I've been doing it again lately. Is that I will lose weight. Whenever I come back, I'll weigh myself as soon as I'm done, right before I leave and right after I'm done. And depending on the distance, I can lose anywhere from about 2 to 4, almost 5 pounds. And then I will drink, and a lot of that will come back. Not all of it, though. I mean, I did go for a run, but I sweat like crazy. It's like, yep, I'm inclined to believe that one off of my own personal experience with my diet and exercising, and especially my running.
Things like that.
Wow, God, it's just so
By diversity, because there's lots of different types of fiber. There's, fiber is not just like one nutrient. People always treat it. Can I take?
And so she starts listing off several different kinds of fibers, and that you need a variety of fibers, which is found in vegetables and mushrooms and stuff like this.
Can I take inulin, and which is a type of fiber? And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but these different types of bacteria, so many different types of bacteria, and they're eating different types of fiber, and we don't even know all what each of them are eating. We know the best thing we can do right now is to get a broad spectrum.
Because there's just a ton of that stuff. That one was sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and importance of fiber, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and this is Eric Drerick. Is, I don't know, there's the channel right there. This is the second time I've come across him. I guess he must be a fan of Dr. Rhonda Patrick. This one is Joe Rogan videos, Joe Rogan and Rhonda, on why sugar is poison and addictive. And it looks like they put in that this was in episode 1054 with Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
Maybe to cutting out refined sugars and refined carbohydrates. I think that stuff's poison.
But there's been studies showing it also affects your brain in a negative way as well. And people that eat refined sugar, there's more brain atrophy. I mean, there's lots of correlations. The one thing I will say is that, there are people that are super physically active and they're like working out.
Yeah, so if there are people who are athletes, that they eat sugar, that they're just incredibly active, and just not just like running around. I mean, like lifting weights and running. That they're like these are top athletes, that they can actually take sugar because their body is just completely different in what the hell's going on the inside.
2 hours a day, and those guys, they'll use refined sugar
Different
to like
environment.
to their increased transport. Compare like people that aren't working out like 2 hours a day or like that to normal people, or even sedentary people.
Weightlifters.
Yeah, weightlifters.
People that are just ripped. I know a lot of guys who like to eat candy afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
That their body needs in terms of glucose.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, still, it's like the way I think about it is it's not really nutrient dense. I like to like, well, there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason why I like to like take. If you want the sugar, then
eat an orange.
Right. Yeah. Or an apple or something like that.
Yeah, you should. It's probably the better move than eating candy. But I think they just want a ton of it.
It causes glucose transporters that transport glucose to like go through the roof, and so you start the glucose from your bloodstream gets like sucked into the muscle, and then in the muscle, you're basically you can use that as a way to have insulin, and it can be anabolic, right? Where
your insulin levels with all of this, whether it was just sugar or just talking about diet and fasting, it was so much focus was on what are your insulin levels whenever you eat sugar, whenever you eat carbs, whenever you eat protein, whenever you fast, whenever you're doing intermittent fasting, several day fasts, or the time restricted eating. They're all concerned with your insulin levels.
Whereas if you weren't doing that, then the glucose is in your bloodstream, and it can all sorts of small dense LDL particles can start to form because the inflammatory transformations that happen and things like that. That's at least my understanding. That's in combination, of course, with amino acids, which are also important for the growth of the protein and muscle. But that's my understanding of it, I think.
So, like in general, though, if someone could cut one thing out of their diet, refined carbohydrates and refined sugars would be a great way to go.
I think if you were to think about the one easiest thing that you could do that would have the biggest impact on your health, and if we're talking about, we're not talking about someone who's already paleo or someone like you. Right. We're talking about like standard American person.
Yes.
The one thing that they could do to have the biggest impact on their health, I would say, is to cut out refined sugar. Like that's probably the biggest thing, the easiest thing. I mean, I don't know how easy it is. It can be addicting.
Very, very addicting. Yeah,
and that's been shown. Dopamine levels, can get activated.
And it's like, yes. I hate these videos where people are talking about, well, we'll just stop eating sugar. It's like, no, it's not that easy. It's this. This is sugar. This is me with sugar. This is absolutely me with a cake. It's like, I cannot open my mouth up enough. I hate this crap. I've mentioned this before. And I've seen like these dietitianers and trainers and stuff. They're like, I just don't understand this fascination with food, and so I'm going to gain all this weight and I'm going to eat. And they do it. And they get really big and they're like, I just can't do it. It's just so bad. It's like, because you don't understand, because you haven't been living like this. It's like, that's not me. It's like, I can shove in more. It's like what you just ate and got your belly all big and you can't stuff anymore. That's a damn snack. It's like, I can keep going. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You can't understand me. I can't understand you. Even though I've lost these 50 pounds, it's like, I know I can go back to it just like that. Just in a snap. And so some things that I've done to help out is that I have thrown away my big fat clothes. It's like, because if my clothes that I'm wearing now, if they get too tight, I am not replacing them. I'm not getting bigger. I'm going to eat less. I have come too far and done too much that I will never go back. I am too old. It's like, screw that trash. I didn't fight that big battle just to lose now here at the end. That makes no damn sense whatsoever. So I do have cheat moments and cheat days and all that stuff. And it's like, whenever I first started, it was like I never envisioned myself being able to cut out sugars. But now that I'm here, it's like, I think maybe I can. And then with the little kick of just how bad it is, there was like a couple of years ago where I came across quite a bit of stuff talking about how if you want cancer, eat sugar. Cancer is just going to love sugar. It's going to screw you up. It's just, you really want to help lower your chances of getting cancer. Stop eating sugar. My mom died of cancer. Her dad died of cancer. There's another family member who died of cancer, but he wasn't related by blood. But it was, I just want to do anything and everything that I can to avoid cancer, because I tell you what, watching her die slowly and painfully and miserably and all that kind of stuff was just horrid. It was a nightmare. I didn't want that for her, and I don't want that for myself. I know a lot more now, decades later, and it's like, yep, I'm just, this can't be me anymore. I just love that picture too. That little baby girl's hilarious. And then I had to look this up because in one of the videos, you may lose water weight before anything else, but it's nothing to worry about. After cutting back carbs and sugar, you may lose weight incredibly quickly. However, these pounds that you're shredding are likely water weight, not fat, according to dietitian Christian Kirkpatrick. But I don't know about this. This is from a website called soyummy.com. Like, what? But they said it, and I hadn't heard anything. And I found a couple other things, and that was because I think he's the one. No, it was another doctor. He's another doctor that he said that you could lose water weight. Maybe he did too. But anyways, moving on. This video is, here's how to break your sugar addiction in 10 days by Cleveland Clinic. So I guess it's some clinic in Cleveland.
It proves that sugar is biologically addictive. In fact, it's 8 times as addictive as cocaine.
I absolutely 100% believe that. No doubt in my mind, sugar is addictive. Again, let's look at that cute baby. Yes, absolutely. Just shove it all down my throat.
Now, this addiction is not an emotional eating disorder. Sugar and flour, which actually raises your blood sugar.
And flour. That was something that a lot of them just said repeatedly. White flour. That it's been processed. It's been kind of pasteurized. Whenever they take it and they steam it and heat it to kill all of this growth and stuff, and what that does, it gives it a long shelf life, but it also kills the good things in it. And I just learned all this from what I was looking into today, and it sounded exactly like whenever you take not penicillin, antibiotics. If a doctor ever tells you to take antibiotics, you need to look into doing something else first. That you can take them, they work, but I would suggest as a last resort, because antibiotics do the same thing. They kill bad things and good things in your body. And that's what they do with this. And that's why this stuff is just so horrible. Because it's killed a lot of the good things that you need. Like, not all bacteria is bad. There's plenty of stuff that is absolutely good that you need. And whenever they do this trash because they're trying to extend the shelf life, because they want more money, it's like, nope, screw you. I am not here. I was not put on this planet to put money in your pocket for you to abuse my health. No, hell no.
More than table sugar hijacks your taste buds, your brain chemistry, and your hormones and your metabolism. So the question is, how do you break the addiction and take back your health? You see,
so some of this I agree with, and there's that cake, wonderful cake. Some of it I agree with, some with it I don't, but we'll get it.
The more sugar you eat, the more you crave. Now here's the good news.
I believe that, because I have definitely cut down my sugar. I still crave it, but it is not like it was before at all. I craved that stuff constantly. It was always, here's a little piece, here's a little piece, here's a whole bunch, here's that cake.
It takes only 10 days to detox from sugar.
Okay. I saw this a lot too, and it was 10 days. It takes 10 days. Man, please. Easier said than done. If you can do it, great. I have done it for like 5 days. I think I did it Monday through Friday. It was a full working week, Monday through Friday. It might have been 7. It wasn't 10. It was horrible. It was like, it got better though. I mean, there at the end, it was getting better, but like the first couple of days, it was like, where the hell's my damn sugar? But then it did get better, but I was still craving it pretty strong. But whenever I got off of it, or whenever I got back to eating some sugar, things seemed sweeter. And that was already happening, but whenever I actually like cut it out completely, and I mean, did I? I don't know. I might have still been eating some processed food at the time, so maybe I didn't. But I wasn't eating any. I wasn't eating any candy, pastas, and pastries. I might have had maybe a little bit of white flour kind of stuff, but it wasn't very much. But all the candies and the pastries gone. Absolutely, just nothing with sugar. I had no sugar, and I think I cut down on some of the carbs. So, and it had an effect.
Key is to consume powerful addiction-reversing foods that rewire and
don't give me that powerful addiction foods. It's like if that was the case, then whenever people did this, they'd be like, "This is what did it. This was great," and we'd all be doing it. So no.
Reset your brain and your body. It's like a total body reboot. And here's how you start. First, make a decision to break the sugar habit. Next, quit.
I tell you what, that is it. I mean, I have these mental blocks with everything. It's not just like at first it was like I never saw myself never eating sugar, and now here I am, and it's like, well, maybe so. Same thing with working out or with running. I'll get to running a certain distance, and it's like I don't know if I can do anymore, and I just push myself and I do it, and then the next thing I know, it's like, yeah, I did. There was a time whenever 4 miles was hard. It's like I just couldn't see myself doing anything more than 4 miles because I was making excuses like, well, I'm too old now. I can't do all this running like I was before. And it's like, yeah, I can. I did it. I pushed through it, and it's like, yeah. The way that it worked for me was that every now and then it's like you have some really bad days where it's like, yeah, I just can't do this. I'm just moving like pond water. And then other days it's like, I feel fantastic. And so I took advantage of it, and it was like I did it, and it was kind of a placebo effect in a way where I didn't, just by doing it, I felt like I could do it, but not just that it wasn't a fluke, but I could do it on a regular basis. And so I guess it was breaking past a fake placebo effect of oh, I can't do it. So I broke that fake placebo effect with another placebo effect. You know, it's all fake. And so it was kind of one placebo effect breaking another placebo effect. I can't, and it's like, well, maybe I can. Anyways.
Cold turkey by stopping all forms of sugar and flour and artificial sweeteners, which act.
It's like, and I've been around the block too. They say the same thing about smoking and alcohol, and it's like, it's hard. It's hard, and there are people who do it, but I don't think that's, if you want real success, I don't think that's the way that you go about doing it. I've known like plenty of people who've tried to quit smoking, and it's just like, yeah, every last one of them. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. And friends, really close friends, that they can stop cold turkey, and then they always get back on it because there's something more to it.
Actually also cause diabetes and obesity. Hydrogenated.
And I heard that one too. Artificial sweeteners just as bad because it's close enough to kick the dopamine and to be sweet and all that stuff. So all of it. You can't cheat.
And MSG, which makes you crave more, as well as all processed and prepackaged foods. Next, don't drink your calories. Eat them. Eliminate sodas, sports drinks, sweetened teas, sweet coffees, juices, except green vegetable juice. Next, add protein to every single meal, especially breakfast.
That was another thing a lot of them said. Eat protein. And they're all over the place with protein too. Eat high fat, high protein, low carbs. Others were saying the opposite with it. I don't know with that. I'm not going to go into it. There's just too much ridiculous countering stuff with that. Some of it though, like sugar, it's like, nope, nobody argues with sugar at all. So that's why I'm sticking to sugar.
With eggs, whole eggs, not egg whites, nuts and seeds, fish, chicken, or grass-fed meats. Next, you want to eat the right carbohydrates for 10 days. Eat only non-starchy veggies.
That was something they all said too. Non-starchy veggies. So no corn, no potatoes, no sweet potatoes. And I like those. I like them a lot. But for 10 days, I can do that for sure.
Like asparagus, green beans, mushrooms, onions, zucchini.
And I like all that stuff. I like asparagus. Green beans, it depends. If you buy them frozen, there's a good chance they're going to taste like rubber. With green beans, there's a lot of things that you can kind of buy the generic version of, and they're just fine. Green beans is not one of them. Vegetables, there are some vegetables is just no. You better buy the name brand stuff, because otherwise it's like eating a tire. Just mushrooms, great. Onions, great. Zucchini, great.
You eat tomatoes, fennel, eggplant, lots of varieties of non-starchy vegetables. And eat good fats in every meal, including nuts and seeds and avocados, coconut butter, and omega-3 fats from fish.
Coconut butter and omega-3s. So if I can manage it, I think tomorrow is going to be about vitamins, nutrients, supplements that we can take. I keep seeing omega-3 and coconut. I want to put that down as a note. Nuts, no. Omega-3. I do have some fish oil tablets, and those things I think have actually helped with my joints whenever I have taken those.
Manage your stress. When you're stressed,
Oh, manage your stress. Shut the hell up, man. That's a whole different thing right there. There's that cake.
Now, it's not easy, but after 2 to 3 days, you'll have more energy, you'll feel better, you'll have fewer cravings, and a whole host of symptoms can go away. And lastly, you need to sleep. We found that less than 8 hours of sleep a night increases your hunger hormones and drives you to overeat. So remember, the first step is to make the decision to break.
That's just constant. It's just 8 hours. 8 hours all the time. So this is Dr. Tracy Marks. Sugar withdrawal is like opioid withdrawal. It's like, yep, 100%.
If you're looking to drastically reduce your sugar intake, you don't want to substitute or use sugar substitutes to help you do that. Why? Because sugar substitutes like stevia, aspartame, agave, for example, all keep your food still.
I have one thing that I try to have instead of sugar, and that's xylitol. And it's because it's supposed to actively also work against cavities. And so if you see it with the ADA thing on the back, I don't know if you can see it, and then it'll say xylitol on it, and it's sweet. I have a package, like a big thing of xylitol. Birch xylitol sweetener. It has 10 calories per serving, which is 1 teaspoon, 4 grams. So this whole container here has 114 servings per container, so it's all together it has a total of 1,140 calories for the thing, and it's great. It's crystallized, so it looks like sugar. It's not powdered, but I'm sure you could take it and just grind it down into powder. And it's sweet, and it's not like I've tried, I think, just about every sweetener in the world, just because at some point in time somebody's had it or it's been at a restaurant or whatever. So I've tried them all, and a lot of them just have this just god awful, horrible aftertaste. Not this. And then it dissolves real quickly too. I mean, like real quick. It's expensive though. This bag was like $7-8 for this, and I don't eat it very often. But the right way to look at it is that if this is better than sugar, then it's worth it. I didn't know how to look at it until I looked into running shoes, because I was running my shoes to death. And it was causing foot pains, and then I came across somebody who was talking about yeah, $100 is expensive for shoes, but if you don't, and then you blow out your feet, and then you have to have like some kind of ankle surgery or knee surgery because you've been running in those trash shoes, what's more expensive? The surgeries and all these medical expenses for going to the hospital or wherever it is to have the surgery, to have the medications, to have a doctor and the nursing and all this done, or a pair of shoes? Duh. It's cheaper to have the pair of shoes. So get the damn pair of shoes. So it's the same thing with this. You know, if you're trying to get off of sugar, you know, what's going to be cheaper? Paying like $7 or $8 for the bag, or having all of the health problems that are related to eating too much and being overweight and being addicted to sugar. It's like, do whatever the hell you need to do to get that stuff cleaned up. And so if it's taking little steps, and if this is one of the steps, then do it. Makes sense, right? Man, I hope so. Makes complete sense to me, and it does to everyone else who I ever talk to about this stuff. So,
tasting sweet. They don't help you reset your taste buds, and that's really what you need to do.
And so this is something that I've just been learning too, is that a lot of them are saying that even though this may be a lot better than sugar, because it's sweet, it's close enough that it's not helping you, that it's still triggering dopamine in you, and so you're not breaking that addiction.
But more importantly, sugar substitutes are linked to metabolic syndrome, and I'll have a reference to that in the description. Metabolic syndrome is a set of symptoms that include high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol.
And this is all insulin right here. This is all related to insulin whenever they say high blood sugar and high blood pressure.
And abdominal fat. And if you have any, or especially all of these conditions, it increases your risk of developing diabetes and heart disease. So drinking...
Yeah. All right. So sugar puts you at risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, high blood sugar, gaining abdominal fat around your gut, high cholesterol. It's an empty calorie. It does you no good whatsoever. There's no vitamins or minerals in it. It's just empty. It's addictive. Which, yeah, I mean, that's all that needs to be said for me. If you need to look more into it because somehow you're just completely oblivious to the obvious, then go ahead and go knock yourself out. I have gone without sugar for a week, within a day or two, and I have definitely noticed a difference in how things tasted. That things seem sweeter, and I also did the opposite in a way of not just eliminating the sweets and the really sweet stuff, but I also deliberately ate things that just taste horrible. One of those is like 95% dark chocolate. Ugh, it's disgusting. It's supposed to be very healthy for you, though. The cocoa is very good for you. That it's got a lot of good things. But when you have milk chocolate, it's like, yeah, there's the milk and especially all the sugar that's added to it. That's what does you, and it's also what makes it taste fantastic. One of the things that I guess I didn't leave one of the videos in that it said that whenever you're doing this, if you're trying to do like the 10 days of taking sugar out, you have to also take out milk and dairy. Now, I do think that, from my understanding, is that you can go back to dairy after you're done, and flour. There might be some flour like almond flour. I think they have almond flour where they just take almonds and they just grind them down to a powder. That might be different. I don't care. I'm just getting rid of all of it. Flour, starches, rice, to get rid of pasta, carbs, all processed food for 10 days. I should be able, I feel like I can do all of this, that I can get. That's the goal, is to get rid of all. No, crap. What do I want? Let me think. Okay, needed to clean that up a little bit. What is the goal? The goal is to stop eating sugar. That's it. Not carbs. Not carbs. That's not the goal. The goal is to stop eating sugar. And so if I really want to stop eating sugar, if I really want to tackle it hard, it needs to be at least for 10 days. But if you've made it for 10 days, chances are you've kind of broken it, and it'll be 11, 12, 13, and forever. And it's not... That's not right either. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. Is to stop eating sugar on a regular basis, just special occasions. So like birthday, the holidays, I still want to have sugar on those. Not as much. So for example, it's like Christmas is a big holiday, and I would argue that that's for several days. It's like, nope, I might eat more for a few days. I will eat even less sugar during that time, you know, like I might, because I don't want to reintroduce the habit. I tell you what, I can absolutely do that in a week. I could probably reintroduce sugar and be like that baby. Where's that baby? That nice little baby right there doing a wonderful thing to that cake. It's like, you give me a few days, and I think I could be right back to where I am right now. Or at least on some level where I would have to actively fight against it again. And I don't want to actively fight this hard against it again. But I've like I keep saying, I've lost 50 pounds, and my craving for the bad stuff and for sugars has absolutely gone down. Because if it didn't, I mean, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It'd still be here. It's still there. The cravings are still there, but I can manage them. I'm doing just fine. So now that has happened, and I have that in my back pocket. It's like, well, does it continue? If I were to really push hard for 10 days, what does that mean? You know, if I basically kind of double almost what I did last time, I'm very interested in this. I want to give it a real shot. But I think before, because the big thing is just, I think if I could just knock out processed sugar first, table sugar. Because that seems like just the big ball buster right there. And just getting rid of processed sugar and replacing it with fruits, because it's still sugar, it's still bad, but it's still like much better than table sugar. Is that right? Let me think. Yeah, so this week it has been, I cut out fast food, because usually I will do it on Wednesdays. I'll go and just have some fast food at one place for usually dinner. Not today. I don't know about this weekend. Usually I do on Saturdays. Probably. Wow. No, I remember. I said I was going to allow myself this Saturday, because I ate something last Saturday, and it's like I got one more Saturday, because there's kind of two categories that I have it in, and it's like I was going to do both of them one more time. So that, yeah, one more time, but only on Saturday, not on Sunday. And I actually was doing it on Sunday, but I cut that out a while ago. And then, so next week, no sugars. All the sugars that I want to get, it's going to be, I think, just from fruits. I might add to that if there's some other things, but right now I think it's just fruits. And then the week after that, the third week with all this, is no sugar, very low carbs for 10 days. Oh, and maybe, I don't know about starches. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to have to cut out starches too. Yeah, that's fine. Because I've just seen too much that's, carbs are fine. You still don't want to have just a whole lot of them, but carbs are fine, kind of good for you. That you don't want no, and that's what they. I've noticed too with like keto and stuff. It's low carbs. It's not no carbs. And so to replace sugar with fruits, and maybe also coconut butter, maybe those omega-3 fatty acids will happen. It was also more protein, so maybe I'll look at other protein sources. Yeah, and so on Friday, I'm going to put this into like a schedule and what it is that I'm going to do. So if you want to follow this and do this along with me, that'd be great. More power to you. And I think we're going to go ahead and cut it off right there. Let me check to make sure. No, baby. Oh, and then this was from Healthline. Research studies have linked a high added sugar intake with various medical conditions, including obesity. And whenever you have obesity, that comes with a whole host of problems with diabetes, heart disease, as well as poor dental health, which I've heard that one a billion freaking times too. Sugar may also reduce your energy levels, leading to fatigue. And they talked about how Joe Rogan was saying that whenever he cut out the sugars and the pastas, that he was no longer needing that midday nap, and he's like needed it like clockwork all the time. And it's like, yep, I understand that. I got that same issue going on. It's gotten better though with the sleep, and I still find myself, I made a video where I was talking about all this, and it's like, I'm not doing that anymore. And then it was like a couple of days later, it's like, I need a nap. Cutting added sugar may help protect against chronic disease development and boost your overall health, just kind of in review right there. And I think if you click on this, it'll show you the study. Number of studies have found that sugar affects the brain reward system. Dopamine is what that is. This reward system helps humans survive, but it's also involved in addictive behavior. According to a 2018 review, the most common foods associated with addictive symptoms are those high in added fats or added sugars. So I've noticed something with fats. I think that fats are a problem when it's been added, but when it's natural fats, those are like a lot better. So if you have a piece of meat and it has fat, that's okay. If you have avocado, that's fine. But whenever it's been processed and it's batted in, that's like something completely different. Symptoms that you may be depressed, you may be anxious. It's like, yep, I know I'm going to be anxious. Changes in sleep, I don't know. Cognitive issues, difficult to. I had a few family members who tried the Atkins diet, and it was cutting out sugars completely, and I think they cut out carbs too completely. Lost a ton of weight. I had some big folks in the family, and some of them went back. They were like, screw this. Gained it all back and then some. But while they were on it, that weight came off. And they also said, because one of them's very close to my age, talked about having headaches, that it's bad. It's for a few days, but then after you're fine. Those will go away. You have other issues, you still have all the cravings and all that. So, well, lightheadedness, dizziness, nausea, fatigue. I don't know about all that stuff. I guess if you're in it enough, if you're really eating it a lot, and then you were to try cold turkey, perhaps, I would say don't do that. It should be a permanent life change. So work on it in steps. That's what worked for me the best. Was I just focused in on two things, and a lot of it was just small things. It was like, well, I'm going to stop eating like donuts, and I'm going to have candy bars, and then it was I'm going to stop eating candy bars, and I'm going to eat potato chips, and I'm going to stop eating potato chips, and start eating like some kind of granola bar. It's like small steps. And so there was like 100 of those damn things, but it worked. Took forever, but it worked. Swap sweet drinks for water. That's actually not a problem. I've never. Sprite is my jam, and it's always been my. I can just guzzle that thing like water's is for fish. It's just, yeah. But it's actually not a problem. I have no problems just drinking water. It does help whenever it's cold, so I do keep water in the fridge. They all talk about eggs and oatmeal. Oatmeal's kind of hard to eat, though. Read the labels. Everything has sugar. Condiments have added sugar. Salad dressings, barbecue sauce, oatmeal packets. Oatmeal packets are great. Whenever they've got the cinnamon and all the flavoring, those things are great. Marinara sauce is just choose unsweetened snacks. Rethink desserts like a handful of macadamia nuts, unsweetened Greek yogurt with berries. It's like rethink dessert. It's like, no, man, I love my cake. So if you two are interested in all of this and you would like to see more, then give the video a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe and become a member. Just those two things. It helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. We'll catch you again later. Thanks for watching. Bye.